ACNEC gives approval to 17 projects involving over 12,951 crore taka. President Muhammad Shahabuddin joins the 43rd ASEAN Summit in Indonesia. Mirza Fakhrul has made mockery with spirit and values of liberation war by comparing BNP's so-called movement with it, says Obaidul Qadir. Awami League wants to win by playing in the election field while BNP wants to run away, says Dr. Hassan Mahmood. Bangladesh and United States will jointly work for ensuring security and development, improving human rights and curbing terrorism in the Pacific region. Janmashtami, commemorating the birth of Lord Sri Krishna, to be celebrated countrywide tomorrow with due religious fervor and gaiety. At least 3 Ukrainian drones shot down in the latest attempt by Kiev to attack sites in Moscow. And Afghanistan now batting with a winning target of 292 runs set by Sri Lanka in Asia Cup Cricket 2023. Assalamu alaikum. This is Simran Rashid welcoming you to News at 10. Now you've just heard the details, now on to the details.
বাংলাদেশ স্বাধীন সার্বভৌম রাষ্ট্র বাংলাদেশ স্বাধীন থাকবে বাংলাদেশকে কেউ দমাতে পারবে না বাংলার বুদ্ধে ষড়যন্ত্র করে লাভ নাই
ACNEC has approved 17 projects involving an overall estimated cost of 12,951 crore 51 lakh taka. The approval came from a meeting of the ACNEC held with its chairperson Prime Minister Sheikh in the chair at the NEC conference room in the city's Sher Bangla Nagar area today. Ministers and state ministers attended the meeting while planning commission members and secretaries concerned were present. Of the approved 17 projects, 10 are new while 7 are revised projects. Some major projects approved in the meeting are procurement of CNG single-decker AC buses for BRTC, land acquisition and setting up Pubail to Dhirashram rail link for constructing inland container depot at Dhirashram under Gajipur, land acquisition for constructing necessary infrastructures for enhancing the facilities for the visitors, coming at the mausoleum of Father of the Nation Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman at Tungipar and Gopalganj, establishment of Chattogram Medical University, establishment of Chatpur Medical College and Hospital and Nursing College, implementation of integrated water resources management to address water logging at Tungipara and Kotalipara, Upajilas of Gopalganj, and climate resilient livelihoods improvement and watershed management in the Chattogram Hill Track Sector project. After the meeting, briefing reporters, Planning Minister M.A. Manan said, the Prime Minister asked the authorities concerned to remain alert so that none could claim excessive compensation after constructing building or makeshift structures in a hurry on the proposed project sites. In this regard, the Premier asked the relevant officials to take pictures of the project sites in their very first visit there to avert such a trend of claiming excessive compensation. The Planning Minister said, while giving approval to a revised project on the solar power plant at Shonagaji, the Prime Minister directed the respective executing agency to keep the height of the poles of solar plant at a standard level so that maximum air, water and sunlight could move beneath the poles and thus there could be better cultivation of land. He said the Prime Minister also directed the executing agencies to formulate designs of projects accurately so that there is no revision of designs required during the implementation of projects. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said that Bangladesh will allocate more space to Japan in the export processing zones EPZs for setting up industries if they want. The Premier said this as a Japanese delegation informed her that many companies of their country are interested to invest in Bangladesh. The 5-member Japanese parliamentary delegation led by Nakanishi Yusuke paid the courtesy call on the Prime Minister at Gon Bhavan this morning. While briefing Press Secretary to the Prime Minister Ihsan al-Karim said, during the call on the delegation said that the existing development partnership between Japan and Bangladesh has to be carried out forward and strengthened further. lauding the commencement of direct flight between Dhaka and Narita. They said it will improve the connectivity. They highly appreciated Bangladesh's success in women empowerment and education. During the call, the Prime Minister sought Japanese assistance to build a sea aquarium in the country. Earlier, Chairman of Nippon Foundation Yohei Sasakawa paid a courtesy call on the Prime Minister. During the meeting, Yohei Sasakawa told the Premier that the Nippon Foundation will provide $3 million for Rohingya support in Bhasanchar. Regarding the Rohingya people, the Prime Minister said that they have to go back to their own country, Myanmar. Yohei Sasakawa praised Bangladesh's effort to eliminate leprosy and rehabilitate the people suffering with leprosy. The Nippon's Foundation chairman invited the Prime Minister to join the National Leprosy Conference to be held in Dhaka in October this year. Principal Secretary Imtafajul Hossein Mia, Foreign Secretary Masood bin Momen, and Japanese Ambassador to Bangladesh Iwama Kiminon were present. The 43rd Summit of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, has begun in Indonesian capital, Jakarta. Bangladesh President Muhammad Shahabuddin has joined the summit at the special invitation of Indonesian President Joko Widodo, also chair of ASEAN. President Muhammad Shahabuddin and his wife, Dr. Rebecca Sultana, reached Jakarta Convention Center in the morning to join the inaugural function. They were welcomed there by the Indonesian President and the First Lady. A number of countries other than ASEAN members and partner countries have joined the three-day summit. Bangladesh President Muhammad Shahabuddin was accompanied by his wife, Dr. Rebecca Sultana, Autism and Neurodevelopment Disorder Affairs National Advisor Saima Wajid, and Foreign Minister Dr. A.K. Abdul Momen were present. Later, the President joined a photo session with ASEAN leaders. President Muhammad Shahabuddin will take part in a dinner of September 6th hosted by the Indonesian President. Bangladesh President reached Jakarta on Monday to join the ASEAN Summit and the East Asia Summit at the invitation of Indonesian President Joko Widodo, also the chair of ASEAN. President Muhammad Shahabuddin will join the 18th East Asia Summit on September 7th at Jakarta Convention Center. He will hold meetings with different heads of state and heads of government, including the Indonesian President, on the sidelines of the ASEAN and East Asia Summits. Speaker Dr. Sheikh Chaudhry said that the number of social media users in Bangladesh is constantly increasing. Many people on the social media are using adverse comments inadvertently to give opinions on a particular issue. She urged everyone to refrain from discrimination in an inclusive society. The speaker said this at a consultative workshop on gendered hate speech and Bangladesh Delta Plan organized by UNDP at the Cabinet Room of the Jatiya সংসদ today. Jatiya সংসদ Senior Secretary K.M. Abdus Salam presided over the workshop. UNDP's Chief Coordinator in Parliamentary Program Mahmoudul Hassan discussed the main contents of the workshop. Former member of the National Human Rights Commission discussed understanding key trends of gendered hate, its impact and Parliament's role to combat hate speech. State Minister for Planning Dr. Shamsul Alam discussed understanding Bangladesh Delta Plan 2100, Parliament's role to accelerate its implementation. Deputy Speaker Muhammad Shamsul Haq Tuku and UNDP resident Representative Stephen Laila spoke at the workshop. Whip Mahbub Ara Begum Gini, Chairman of the Standing Committee on the Ministry of Shipping, Major retired Rufikul Islam Bir Uttam, Chairman of the Standing Committee on the Ministry of Women and Children Affairs Meher Afrid Chumki, and members of Parliament were present at the workshop. A number of bills, including the Cybersecurity Bill 2023, has been presented in the Parliament today. State Minister for Information and Communication Technology Junaid Ahmed Polov presented the bill. Later, Speaker Dr. Sheikh Chaudhry sent the bill to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on the Post and Telecommunication Ministry for scrutiny. The committee will submit a report within 5 days. The government has decided to enact a Cybersecurity Act with a view to modernizing the Digital Security Act. A number of clauses of Digital Security Act have been amended in the Cybersecurity Act. The Cabinet approved the draft of the Cybersecurity Act on August 28th last. Meanwhile, the Sheikh Hasina Polli Unnoyan Academy Jamalpur Bill 2023 has been passed unanimously in the Parliament today. LGRD Minister Muhammad Tajul Islam presented the bill. Besides the government, Primary School Teachers Trust Bill 2023 has also been passed in the Parliament unanimously. State Minister for Primary and Mass Education Mohammad Zakir Hussain presented the bill. Information and Broadcasting Minister Dr. Hassan Mahmood presented the Bangladesh Film Certification Bill 2023 in the Parliament. In the bill, there is a clause of punishment of highest 5 years imprisonment or highest 5 lakh taka fine or both for screening films without certificate. The bill will be a replacement for the Censorship of the Films Act 1963. Later, the bill was sent to the concerned Parliamentary Standing Committee for scrutiny to submit a report within 14 days. Earlier, Social Welfare Minister Nur Jaman presented the National Disabled Development Foundation Bill 2023 in the Parliament. The Speaker sent it to the concerned Parliamentary Standing Committee for scrutiny and submitted a report within 3 days. Besides, Sylhet Development Authority Bill 2023 was presented in the Parliament. State Minister for Housing and Public Works Sharif Ahmed presented the bill. Later, the bill was sent to the concerned Parliamentary Standing Committee for scrutiny. Meanwhile, Law Minister Anisul Haq presented the Election Law Amendment Bill for Reserved Women constituency in the Parliament today. The bill proposed to increase security money of the candidates to 20,000 taka from the existing 10,000 taka. Later, the bill was sent to the concerned Parliamentary Standing Committee for submitting reports after further scrutiny. Awami League General Secretary and Road Transport and Business Minister Obaidul Qadir has said, BNP Secretary General Mirza Fakhrul Islam Alamgir has made mockery with the spirit of the 1971 Liberation War by comparing their so-called movement with it. In the statement issued today, Obaidul Qadir said, talking about the Liberation War does not suit those who destroyed the spirit of the Liberation War and rehabilitated anti-liberation forces after assuming power. The Awami League General Secretary said, the ill attempt to make a new narrative against the collective history of the country is an exposure of BNP's fascist attitude. Obaidul Qadir said that the independence of this country has been achieved and made meaningful under the leadership of Awami League. The Awami League is working for changing the fate of the people, aiming to reach the benefits of the independence to the doorsteps of all, he added. On the contrary, he said, the defeated anti-liberation forces led by BNP impeded the country's advancement time and again. Mentioning that Awami League is a democratic party which never came to power without elections, Obaidul Qadir said, Awami League wants competitive elections with participation of all parties. He said, BNP took various ill tactics to make the electoral process controversial in the past, and they have to take the responsibility for the damage caused to elections and democracy due to their ill strategies. For these reasons, the Road Transport Minister said, BNP is afraid of facing the people and their leaders are constantly talking perplexedly to ease their election fear. Awami League General Secretary urged BNP leaders and workers, including its General Secretary General, to refrain from such activities that hinder the progress of Bangladesh going on under the leadership of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Obaidul Qadir vowed that the independence and democracy gained through the unforgettable sacrifice of 3 million martyrs and 2.5 lakh women will not be allowed to be detained by any evil political force. Information Broadcasting Minister and Awami League Joint General Secretary Dr. Hassan Mahmood said, Awami League wants to win by playing with everyone in the election field, while BNP only wants to run away. I will tell them not to run away from the field. The Information Broadcasting Minister said this while exchanging views with journalists at the Secretariat this afternoon. Referring to comments of Mirza Fakhrul Islam, Information Broadcasting Minister Dr. Hassan Mahmood said, Awami League does not want to score goals in empty fields. He said, BNP wants to leave this field in fear of losing the election.
গতকাল মির্জা ফখরুল ইসলাম আলমগীর সাহেব বলেছেন আওয়ামী লীগ ফাঁকা মাঠে গোল দিতে চায়। আমরা কখনো ফাঁকা মাঠে গোল দিতে চাই না। আমরা চাই আগামী নির্বাচনে বিএনপি পূর্ণ শক্তি নিয়ে অংশগ্রহণ করুক। কিন্তু বিএনপির কথাবার্তায় মনে হচ্ছে যে তারা নির্বাচনে হেরে যাওয়ার ভয়ে তারা মাঠ ছেড়েই চলে যেতে চাচ্ছে। তো ফখরুল ইসলাম আলমগীর সাহেবকে বলবো মাঠে আসার জন্য এবং আমাদের সাথে খেলার জন্য। আমরা খেলেই জিততে চাই। আমরা চাই সমস্ত রাজনৈতিক দল আগামী নির্বাচনে অংশগ্রহণ করুক এবং সেই নির্বাচনের মাধ্যমে দেশের মানুষ আগামী দিনের সরকার নির্বাচিত করুক। জনগণের উপর আমাদের আস্থা আছে এবং সেই আস্থা আছে বিধায় নির্বাচনের মাঠে খেলে আমরা জিততে চাই। তো বিএনপিকে বলবো খেলার মাঠ থেকে পালিয়ে না যাওয়ার জন্য।
Dr. Hassan Mahmood said, had there been no election in 1970, Bangladesh would have not become independent. Many political parties did not participate in that election, but the people participated extensively and the country became independent.
নির্বাচন প্রতিহত করার সেই ক্ষমতা বিএনপির নাই। 14 সালে আমরা তাদেরকে মোকাবেলা করেছি। 14 সালে সেই পরিস্থিতি বিএনপি কখনো সৃষ্টি করতে পারবে না। গণতন্ত্রে জনগণের অংশগ্রহণটাই হচ্ছে মুখ্য। বাংলাদেশে 70 সালে নির্বাচন হয়েছিল। মৌলানা ভাসানীর নেতৃত্বে তখন স্লোগান দেওয়া হয়েছিল যে ভোটের বাক্সে লাথি মারো এবং বাংলাদেশ স্বাধীন করো। তো 70 সালের নির্বাচন না হলে বাংলাদেশ স্বাধীন হতো না এবং অনেক রাজনৈতিক দল সেই নির্বাচনে অংশগ্রহণ করে নাই, কিন্তু জনগণ ব্যাপকভাবে অংশগ্রহণ করেছে এবং দেশ স্বাধীন হয়েছে। এবং গত সিটি কর্পোরেশন নির্বাচনে বিএনপি সহ অনেক রাজনৈতিক দল তাদের মিত্ররা অংশগ্রহণ করে নাই। 50% ভোট বেশি ভোট কালেকশন হয়েছে। সুতরাং নির্বাচনে আমরা চাই অবশ্যই সব রাজনৈতিক দল বিএনপি সহ সবাই অংশগ্রহণ করুক, কিন্তু সেখানে জনগণের অংশগ্রহণটাই হচ্ছে মুখ্য। এই নির্বাচনে আশা করব তারা নির্বাচনে অংশগ্রহণ করবে। আগামী নির্বাচনে যদি বিএনপি অংশগ্রহণ না করে তাহলে মির্জা ফখরুল ইসলাম আলমগীর সাহেব নিজের পতন এবং বিএনপির পতন দুটিই অবলোকন করবেন।
The Dhaka Elevated Expressway is the latest inclusion in Dhaka's communication network, easing traffic congestions largely. Earlier, it took 1 to 2 hours to reach Farmgate from the airport. Now, with the opening of the elevated expressway, it takes only 10 minutes to travel the 11.5-kilometer distance between the airport and Farmgate. Talking to BTV, passengers expressed great joy and relief traveling on the elevated expressway, the first of its kind in Bangladesh. They said it's a fantastic experience to travel uninterruptedly on the elevated expressway. The number of vehicles is increasing every day since the opening of the elevated road. Prime Minister Sheikh inaugurated the airport to Farmgate portion of the Dhaka Elevated Expressway on September 2nd. Bangladesh and the United States would jointly work through mutual cooperation and exchanging experience for security and development, improving human rights and curbing terrorism in the Pacific region. The agreement came at the 9th annual bilateral security dialogue between Bangladesh and the United States at the Foreign Service Academy in the capital. Director General Foreign Ministry's North America Wing, Khondokar Masood Alum, led the Bangladesh delegation, while the U.S. side was led by Mira Resnick, Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Regional Security in the Bureau of Political Military Affairs. During the dialogue, Dhaka, alongside security issues, raised the issue of sending back Rashid Chaudhry, fugitive killer of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, now residing in the United States. The meeting also discussed sustainable solutions to the Rohingya crisis, GSOMIA, and ACSA agreement. Representatives of both the countries said the security partnership between the two countries is very strong and their interest in the Pacific region is common. They also said Bangladesh and the United States have a common understanding towards keeping the Pacific region free, peaceful, and secure. Now, international news. 3 Ukrainian drones were shot down in the latest attempt by Kiev to attack sites in Moscow. Russia's defense ministry said early on Tuesday that air defense systems destroyed 2 drones over the Kaluga and Tver regions, which border the Moscow region. A third drone was shot down closer to the Russian capital of the Istrar district of the Moscow region, it added. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has again called to Ukraine's counter-offensive against Russian forces a failure. Speaking at a news conference with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in the Black Sea resort of Sochi on Monday, Putin denied reports of recent battlefield gains by Ukraine and said Kiev's forces had not been stalled in their advance but had failed. North Korea's Kim Jong-un plans to travel to Russia this month to meet President Vladimir Putin. The two leaders will discuss the possibility of North Korea providing Moscow with weapons to support its war in Ukraine. The exact location of the planned meeting is not clear. The possible meeting comes after the White House said it had new information that arms negotiations between the two countries were actively advancing. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said Russia's defense minister Sergei Shoigu had tried to convince Pyongyang to sell artillery ammunition to Russia during a recent visit to North Korea. In July, Russian defense minister Sergei Shoigu visited North Korea. Putin and Kim have since exchanged letters pledging to increase their bilateral cooperation, he said. UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres has called for the world to step up climate action to avoid the worst effects of climate change, keep global promises to provide essential support, and help Africa make a just and equitable transition to renewable energy. He made the call while addressing the ongoing Africa Climate Summit hosted by Kenya and the African Union Commission in Nairobi. The African Climate Summit brings together several African heads of state and government, ministers and UN leaders, including the UN Secretary General Guterres and his predecessor Ban Ki-moon. A joint declaration to be issued tomorrow will outline the continent's position on climate finance and green growth. The declaration is calling to contain proposals for the establishment of a global carbon tax system that leaders say will increase the availability of climate finance and incentivize countries to cut emissions, and call for industrialized countries to accelerate their efforts to reduce emissions. A part of China's Great Wall has been severely damaged by construction workers in central Shanxi province who used an excavator to dig through it. Police say 2 people are suspected of trying to create a shortcut for their construction work. The 2 have been detained and the case is still under further investigation. Located in Wuwu County, the 32nd Great Wall is a section of the Ming Great Wall and is characterized as a historical and cultural site which is protected at the provincial level. Now some other international news in brief. Malaysia has called for strong measures against Myanmar's generals, saying obstacles they created have blocked the implementation of a plan to restore peace more than 2 years since the military seized power in a coup.
Sustainable and innovative financing and digital transformation and the creative economy. Now, President
Cuban men into the Russian army.
Cuba has identified an alleged human trafficking ring aimed at recruiting its citizens to fight in Russia's war in Ukraine, the foreign ministry said. The government was working to dismantle the trafficking network.
We're joining the Russian armed forces specifically to fight in Ukraine. The quiet part that the news report did not say out loud.
The number of migrants lodging asylum applications in the EU has jumped 28% in the first half of the year compared to the same period last year, official figures released today showed.
I'm joined by Arno. We're going to see on screen now. There was a big surge in 2015.
G20 per capita coal emissions continue to rise despite climate pledges and transition efforts by some members of the group of major economies, new research showed today. Thousands of Burning Man attendees finally made their mass exodus after intense rain over the weekend flooded campsites and filled them with thick, ankle-deep mud, stranding more than 70,000 revelers as they waited for the Nevada desert city to dry out. Janmashtami, one of the major festivals of the Hindu community commemorating the birth of Lord Sri Krishna, will be celebrated countrywide tomorrow with due religious fervor and gaiety. According to Hindu mythology, Sri Krishna was born on the 8th day of dark fortnight in the Bangla month of Bhadra. He takes birth in ages in the world to safeguard the good and pious people from the hands of malevolent people by establishing truth, justice and beauty in the society. The day of Janmashtami is a public holiday in Bangladesh. On the eve of the festival, President Muhammad Shahabuddin and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina issued separate messages, extended greetings and felicitations to Hindu community members and wished success of all programs. Bangladesh Television, Bangladesh Betar, other private TV channels and radio stations will air special programs highlighting various aspects of life and philosophy of Lord Sri Krishna. Bangladesh Puja Utpajon Porishad and Mahanagar Shara Bijan Puja Committee have taken up a 2-day program centrally at Thakshewari National Temple. There is no symptom of improvement in the dengue situation across the country, as over 2,000 have been infected and 11 died during the last 24 hours. A press release of the Director General of Health Services said, among the dead, 8 were in Dhaka and 3 were outside Dhaka. 2,782 dengue patients were admitted to different hospitals across the country during the last 24 hours. Among them, 951 dengue patients were hospitalized in Dhaka city and 1,831 patients outside Dhaka. Meanwhile, no one died of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. The country reported 11 COVID-19 positive cases as 878 tested in the last 24 hours. Corona infection rate was reported at 1.25%. Afghanistan. Now news on sports. Afghanistan are now batting on a target of 292 runs to win against Sri Lanka in the Asia Cup cricket in Lahore, Pakistan. The Afghans scored 230 runs for 5 wickets in 30 overs when the reports last came in. Earlier, Sri Lanka won the toss and elected to bat first. The Lankans scored 291 runs for 8 wickets in 50 overs. Kusal Mendis and Pathum Nisanka scored 92 and 41 runs, respectively. The third National Squash Competition 2023 organized by Bangladesh Squash Federation began today. State Minister for Social Welfare Muhammad Ashraf Ali Khan Khosru inaugurated the competition at Army Squash Complex in the capital. Federation General Secretary, retired Brigadier General G.M. Kamrul Islam, was present among others. A total of 145 players are participating in the competition in 8 groups. To end the bulletin, headlines once again. ECNEC gives approval to 17 projects involving over 12,951 crore taka. President Muhammad Shahabuddin joins the 43rd ASEAN Summit in Indonesia. Mirza Fakhrul has made mockery with spirit and values of liberation war by comparing BNP's so-called movement with it, says Obaid Qadir. Awami League wants to win by playing in the election field while BNP wants to run away, says Dr. Hassan Mahmood. Bangladesh and United States will jointly work for ensuring security and development, improving human rights, and curbing terrorism in the Pacific region. Janmashtami, commemorating the birth of Lord Sri Krishna, to be celebrated countrywide tomorrow with due religious fervor and gaiety. At least 3 Ukrainian drones shot down in the latest attempt by Kiev to attack sites in Moscow. And Afghanistan now batting with a winning target of 292 runs set by Sri Lanka in Asia Cup Cricket 2023. And that's all from the newsroom for today. Until then, Khuda Hafiz.